Well, a very good morning to you. Once again, another Benson Hedges match for you, and of course a very important one indeed for South Africa this morning against India in Adelaide. Well, the bad news is, or maybe it's good news, we don't know yet, it is raining, and it is raining rather hard right at this moment at the Adelaide Oval, and it could mean that in fact there'll be no play for all of the day. But of course there is the other possibility that we could get down to a real limited over match of somewhere about 20-25 overs, and then really at that stage of course it's all hell breaks loose and who knows what will end up happening. But that is all literally speculation at this moment because it is raining very, very hard indeed. In fact, I've been told it's more or less those Cape Tonian days, that's what it looks like, with the rain settling in. It's like that drizzle, and then it gets harder, and then drizzles and gets harder, and that's about how it all is looking at this moment. So not a very good prospect for cricket involving South Africa and India at this moment, but don't despair, we still have cricket for you. That's the best news anyway. Right, of course, my two very special guests with us in the studio this morning. Once again, nice to have Eddie Barlow with us, and I'm sure we'll have a few cryptic comments to be passed from Eddie during the course of the day, and also, of course, Iqbal Khan, of course, with us as well, the chief cricket writer of the Daily News in Durban. Disappointment on one hand that there might not be any cricket, Eddie, but then again one looks at it and says, well, at least it could be a point in the bag and it will give us 9 points.
Well, there you go, you see, and I think probably the most important thing, if there isn't any cricket, is that it gives the guys time to relax.
Yeah.
They've been bowled into the ground, they've had tremendous games, emotionally sapping, physically very, very hard. The injuries we see are becoming more and more serious. It's weariness, it's hard work. So I would think that the South African side would be delighted if it does rain all day. They get that point, they get that nose in front again, and they have that rest break, which is also very, very important.
Yeah, because at this moment going into this game, remember we've got 8 points. You don't need reminded, it's been probably the most nerve-wracking of moments for all of us, that England game in particular, where we thought we might get those 2 points. But this one is an absolute must, Iqbal, going into this, because Pakistan can still get 9 points. And of course then it's once again an absolute cliffhanger, the last game of the match, last game of the whole series on Wednesday when Australia play the West Indies.
I think, Barry, what you're looking at now is, you may say that yes, we get a point. Pakistan can get 9 points, but the points don't matter at the moment. And I think the important thing is, and this has been stressed from the very beginning of the tournament, is that run rate.
Well, we stressed it here, but they have taken notice of it.
I don't think they've stressed it out in, I mean, when I say we've stressed the point of run rates, and I think run rates are going to be so crucial at this stage, because the West Indies get 10 points.
Yeah.
South Africa get 9 points. Pakistan, who seem to have come back all of a sudden, right, with vengeance. I mean, the way they destroyed Australia the other day, they've got Sri Lanka. And anybody that plays Sri Lanka, except South Africa, will get the run rate going.
Except South Africa, I love the way you put that.
I mean, the same thing they did with Zimbabwe. I mean, look at today. Australia, or yesterday, Australia played Zimbabwe. They pushed that run rate up. What we did against Zimbabwe was murder. They scored 176. And we got 177 or 178 in 46 overs. I think any side that played Zimbabwe, any side in the tournament, would have got that 176 runs within 25 overs or maximum 30 overs and given them that boost. So I think run rates are going to be pretty important at that stage. India are out of it, right? But India could cause a few problems if the match goes on for South Africa. My gut feeling is that after watching India play South Africa in those 3 matches in India, I watched the video again before coming out. My gut feeling is that India is going to topple South Africa. Because of the batting, we don't know what we're doing with team selections. Players that are supposed to be playing. I think that syndrome that, you know, when the 20-man squad was announced, the Van der Merwe jokes were around, right? Now the boys have gone down to Australia. The Proctor jokes are out. What's happening with the bits and pieces, bowlers coming into it? When we were seeing Natal, where Proctor was involved, he had bits and pieces, all rounders coming in. What is he doing now with the South African team, where you got specialist bowlers for specialist departments, and those bowlers are not being used? You can't go into a team, into a match of importance like this, with bowlers that cannot do the job. We've seen Kirsten, we've seen Hansie Cronje, we've seen Capable. They've been taken to pieces by England. That was a thoroughly professional outfit. And they took South Africa by storm, and they really showed South Africa what one-day cricket was all about. And the reason being, you are playing part-timers who are not bowlers in their own provincial sides and going out there, whilst you got Tertius Bosch sitting outside, you got Omar Henry, and, okay, Mark Rushmere is not a bowler. But the thing is, you can't go. Every team in this World Cup has gone in with a spinner. The spinner immediately puts the batsman on the lookout. He's got to now start playing, moving his feet, trying to look for runs. And the South African bowlers, all speed merchants, right? You just snick a ball down the leg side or down the off through the slips, you're getting 4 runs. While the spinner will obviously make you start thinking, moving your feet, and the wicketkeeper is up. So you don't get that many runs. And I feel very sorry for a man like Omar Henry, who's sitting out, right? Now you expect him to play in a match after sitting out for about 5 or 6 games and expect to perform miracles for you? I don't think that's fair on a player like that. Now he's gone down to Australia, and there's a tour coming down to West Indies. What happens when the man comes back? His motivation is shattered. His confidence is gone. When the boy comes back to South Africa, you select a new side. Omar Henry is left behind. Maybe Tim Shaw goes. What do you do to a player like that? I think the selectors have really destroyed a few players' confidences there. And the selectors there are responsible. And I can't believe it. When the 20-man squad was announced and when the final 14 was announced, the critics in South Africa were having a full go at Van der Merwe and company. Why aren't they having a full go at Procter and company now? Are they afraid? Because it's national pride or something? National pride, then you've got to criticize. I think you've got to lay the criticism, and I think the men responsible, Procter, Wessels, Kaper, and probably Alan Jordan, although he's sitting on the selection committee without a vote. I find it very strange.
Well, obviously, criticism has been passed, not just by us sitting here on the panel, but also everywhere I seem to be walking around the country, people talking to me saying, what is going on down there? And of course, we are so removed, Eddie, that so often there are so many other things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But I found it very strange, and I have to agree with Iqbal, I found it very, very strange indeed that Omar has not played.
The implications, you know, the implications that Iqbal has mentioned here are obviously corrected, you know, with regard to confidence and motivation and what have you. The other thing that is, that I mentioned earlier, this injury situation, you know, we seem to have got through, haven't we? But only just on occasions. And we all know that that fifth bowler is crucial. But even more importantly is the fact that they've made the other guys work so hard that they're weary. They are taking tremendous strain. Now, as Iqbal so rightly says, if someone does get injured or you have to play someone for whatever reason, a chap like Tertius Bosch, I couldn't care who it is, anybody who sat out for 2 or 3 weeks, he's not battle-hardened.
No.
It's going to be a miracle if he actually does land and get in there, particularly when he's playing against guys who've been out there, you know, on the battlefield and having a full go at each other. It is going to be a major problem. And to have taken that chance from the word go and bowled Macmillan, he's in trouble now, I believe. Alan Donald, sore hamstrings. You know, if those 2 guys back up, and we've got to play this game or the next game, or even get to the semi-final or what have you, and it could so easily happen now, you know, that's a further problem that, you know, that will arise, and you have to keep on playing players to keep them in nick in case of emergencies. I mean, the Zimbabwe game was the ideal game to actually lob everyone out and get the boys in, let them have a few days off, you know, and get the other boys into form again. So we've mentioned this from the beginning, haven't we? With the run rate. We've mentioned this fifth bowler, and it seems to have been, you know, the Achilles heel, hasn't it? And both of them are, in fact, crucial areas in limited over cricket. Your run rate, absolutely essential, and having those 5 bowlers all firing, containing the opposition. So, you know, we can go on about this, but that is the guts of limited over cricket, plus your fielding.
Yeah.
Well, we've fielded magnificently. And we've seen that. That has been tremendous all round. But the other 2 areas, there has to be a question mark, yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, we raised the question mark, and I'm sure you've done it at home as well, and you've raised it on many occasions, whether you've got your own favourites or whether you haven't. But it's a case of being honest about the whole thing. Rushmere has played a couple of games. There was talk, of course, that he would actually be one of the players that would definitely get in the side, Mark Rushmere. He would be a regular. But, of course, the man that's kept him out of that has been Kirsten, who definitely came to light and stayed in the side because there was no way you could actually drop him. And I suppose that was also maybe another deliverance that went the selectors' way because they now didn't have to find another batsman to go in there.
Well, intriguing that, we say that once again, if we look at the batting, Adrian Kaper has not, fulfilled.
No. He'd be the first to admit it.
I'm sure he would, yeah. And, that is the situation where you have to make use of the next guy. Put that chap into nets, let him get his confidence back, get whatever's wrong, get it straightened up. And play Rashmi, who did come in and did play very well. He hasn't played badly. So somehow or other, that seems to have slipped the net. So we're sitting with three chaps who, almost for reasons that we hadn't heard of, are just not being used. So you just have to keep all your players, especially when you've only got 14, you've got to keep them playing somehow or other. I know it's World Cup, I know every game is crucial, but we could have had some terrible disasters.
Yeah, I think, Barry, the thing is, Adrian Kaper is keeping his place because he's the vice-captain. Eddie will remember when they went down to Australia and New Zealand with a team with Trevor Goddard, and Peter van der Merwe was the vice-captain then. And Peter van der Merwe didn't play in some of those test matches, right? I mean, the bold step to take is if you're not in form, and I said this earlier as well, that Adrian Kaper could be a liability to the side. Over the last couple of matches, he's proved that. Right? He hasn't come right with the bowling. They tried him as an opener. That failed. Right? He hasn't come along with the bat. And we know that he can do it. But the thing is, the obvious thing for anybody in the team management to have done, like what Eddie said just now, get him into the nets and sort the man out and get his confidence back so that you could have played him in the crucial matches building up towards a semi-final, which they haven't done. And I think that's going to be another sad part of this entire tour.
Yeah. Well, one looks at that and says that there has been the team selection, there has been a problem with the run rate. It's something we've been talking about all the while. We got ourselves into a little bit of a plus factor a couple of games ago. Not, I'm afraid, a big enough plus factor because, in case you don't know, we've been overtaken by the West Indies at this moment. West Indies have got 8 points, we've got 8 points, and the West Indies have a better run rate than us, so they're now currently in that third spot. This game, of course, would have been very important for us to have got a good our run rate up. It now looks as though the weather is going to be one of those irritating factors where we won't be able to get to the crease and up our run rate, or allow our bowlers to have a chance at the Indians to take the wickets, which means, of course, there is another equation. Our run rate will now remain the same. That's what the equation is. And if that does happen, then, of course, the West Indians play, of course, against Australia. Australia up their run rate today with a really fine, yesterday, with a very fine performance. And I think after all said and done against the Zimbabweans, I think they've had a great trip, really, haven't they? They've just enjoyed themselves, I think, quite honestly. The Zimbabweans, they haven't. It's their own fault, I think, because they unfortunately, of course, not come away with any points at this moment. But at the end of the day, the game on Wednesday is going to be the big one, where the West Indies play against Australia. I think it'll be all to play for. The West Indies with their 8 points at the moment. Australia still might just creep in with that opportunity of getting in there with that 8 points. Could just get there. And that really would, I think, for the Australians' point of view, would be very exciting, I'm sure, and they'd be very happy about that.
Excuse me, yes, I was actually having a chat to Rod Marsh this evening at the hotel. He, obviously, we all know he's here with this academy team. And he was saying that everyone in Australia is very concerned about the Australian team because they're getting a bit long in the tooth. They're all in their young 30s.
Yes.
And we went to town here about, chaps in their 40s and what have you. And he said that everyone had felt that this was going to be their last trip anyway. There would have to be a lot of changes. And he was not surprised that, in fact, this had happened.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing. One sits here and talks about one's own team and its problems and possible improvements and what have you. And then you go across the sea and everybody else has their problems. And we've seen that with New Zealand. Now, I think there's a lot to be learned from New Zealand. They haven't had these big, fast bombers, as we call them, the big boys coming in flat out. They've just been very, very clever. Stuck to the basics, done it exceptionally well. They look like they might be coming a bit unstuck today against England. But there they are, little gentle medium paces, tight line, tight length, no width, spinner coming on early. And they've done their homework, those New Zealanders. You can see that they've actually sat down and said, we have a plan. This is what we're going to do. The good thing is for them is that it's worked. Obviously, sometimes you have a plan and it goes out the back door. I mean, but for them it's worked. And I think we in South Africa can take a lesson from that. That's good cricket thinking that.
Yeah. Well, before we'll be continuing with our chat, and let me just tell you what we're currently doing. At this moment, we're trying to get the satellite feed through to us regarding the New Zealand and the England game. I'm sure you'd like to see that. The reason why we're doing that is because at this moment it is raining in Adelaide. And in case you don't believe me that it's raining in Adelaide, what I thought we'd do right now is have a look what Louis Karpas looks like. Not a pretty sight at the best of times, our Louis, but anyway, under an umbrella is he at this moment at the Adelaide Oval. And he, in fact, I think, is looking a little bedraggled, to say the least. As you can see. Well, as we saw there, Louis' lips were moving, not too much sound coming out of them, but there we are. We'll get more of him, I'm sure, a little bit later on, if you want more of him. He's a big lad already. But anyway, there was our Louis underneath the umbrella, not looking a pretty sight. I can understand he's now perusing the situation there. All sorts of things going on in my ear, let me tell you. But Louis is about to be, I suppose, really be summoned again to the microphone, so to speak. I think we're ready. Yes, we are ready to, in fact, find out what the situation is then from Louis Karpas in Adelaide, shall we?
And a very good morning to you in South Africa, and I'm afraid we greet you with some bad news. 4 hours of rain is predicted. It's just before 10 o'clock in the morning. The game due to start at 10 o'clock, and the news from the Weather Bureau is bad. The rain is here to stay for at least the next 4 hours. Now, what does that mean? Well, 15 overs need to be completed by both sides for the game to be a contest. If the game is washed out or no result is achieved, that means 1 point, sending South Africa into 9th position on the 1992 Benson and Hedges World Cup log. This, of course, the Adelaide Oval is the ground where they stood 8 deep for the Test Series, the Bodyline Test Series. And the other interesting fact is the ground holds about 30,000. That Bodyline Series had 50,000 people in the ground. Today, 14,000 people had bought tickets to come along. Maybe 400 are here right now. It's a miserable day. It's a Cape Town day. The rain looks like it's here to stay. It's coming down. The good news is that if the game does begin, the drainage system is absolutely superb in this ground. They have the squishy, as they call, and they are going to be quite prepared to get the ground into shape. As far as the South African side is concerned, it will be unchanged if Brian McMillan passes a fitness test before the match starts. The toss is important. Right now, we go back to Barry Lambert in what I believe is a dry Randburg.
Indeed it is. Anyway, let's talk about that toss. And Louis just passed it off there. It might be an important. Of course, it is important because the moment the game gets cut right the way down to a 20 over or 25 or even a 15 over, can you imagine that debacle? If it happens, of course, the answer is you've got to probably bat first because if the rain comes down even harder, they get the old calculator out again, Eddie, and away we go, isn't it? So it is indeed a toss that is most important.
Well, yes, I mean, it's important in, as you so rightly say, you could be reduced again, but if you're at 15 and then comes down again...
That's different.
That's different.
Yeah.
So I think in these games, people like to chase, in fact, and see what they can do. But once again, I mean, it makes a lottery of this game, and it's just unfortunate that rain has interfered. I've never seen so much rain in Australia this summer.
They've had some dreadful...
All over the place, the games washed out and so forth, which is very unusual. We haven't got any here, and it's ruining the World Cup.
Funny you should mention that, because when I was over there, they were saying that they hadn't had rain. They were like us. They hadn't had rain for months.
Oh, dear.
And so much so that when I was in Perth at the time, the whole day, the day before we played on the Sunday in Perth, on Saturday there, it rained and rained and rained. I was with some friends of mine there, and they kept apologising, saying, you know, we don't get weather like this. This doesn't happen. You know, we don't get weather like this. And they haven't stopped having it since I left. So maybe this is a bit inclement weather is following the cricketers around, because at the start of the tour, the lads just didn't get enough batting practice in the middle because they were hit by rain, weren't they? So
that's right.
Bad times.
Interesting
bad
that
times.
what Louis did say, Barry, that the team would probably be unchanged again, and the mystery increases, I'm sure. You know, we saw Brian McMillan looking in terrible condition the other night at the MCG, going off for pain-killing injections, extreme doubt. One wonders, you know, if he's fit, they said, he will play, which almost looks as though they're going to play him. They're looking to force to play him. So there certainly is a mystery about this. I know we're going on about it, but, you know, just to force people to play when they're not fit, I mean, that's another golden rule. You know, is he going to last?
Yeah,
Do you end up with 10 men in the field? It just becomes more and more confusing. I don't think that what is going on is correct at this stage.
Without having any, because we don't know, let's not kid ourselves, we're sitting with speculation, we sit with a little bit of insight, what does go on in Australia or Australasia at this moment. There appears to be, as though the newspaper reports and everything else coming out of there, that there is a little bit of friction in the camp, and one looks at that, Iqbal, and says to oneself, this is not good. Is it the fact that we're just not winning? When I say winning, are we not just winning the crucial games and putting more pressure on ourselves, do you think? Or is there, you think, maybe a little bit of friction in the camp?
I think the friction will come because of the selection. And let's be honest and let's not kid ourselves. South Africa has gone into a new world as far as cricket is concerned in South Africa with the unity. Now, obviously, I'm not looking at it, and don't get me wrong, I'm not looking at it from a point of view, yes, you've got a non-white on the side. He's earned his place on merit, irrespective. And I know Omar, I've known him for years, right? And I'm not taking sides here. I think by leaving Omar out of the side for certain matches, right, and not playing him, having given him one, I think Tertius Bosch feels the same way as well, and so does Mark Rushmere. I think we are creating a situation where we're going to have problems. And I think the boy comes from Cape Town. That's his original roots, right? And I think people in Cape Town could spring one or two surprises for this unified United Cricket Board of Control. So, I don't know. I think we putting our foot deep into it, well, selection-wise.
That's an interesting scenario. One that I hope doesn't happen, but an interesting scenario indeed. And one looks at what has gone on, and I know I had the pleasure of, on Friday night, being a guest at the state president's gathering of all the sportsmen and who were supporting him in the yes vote coming up. And he was telling me that he was probably seeing far too much of me on his television, apparently. That was one thing he said, because he was keeping himself up, and I don't know, he keeps going, quite honestly, the hours he does. Anyway, he was telling me that he's been watching every game involving South Africa, and certainly was not going to miss tonight's game either. And obviously he's been given tremendous support to our players down there in Australasia. And I'm sure if you're watching tonight, sir, I hope you're enjoying the rain. Sorry about that. I do apologise for that. But anyway, we're not going to take too much away from you because, of course, we are also going to get some cricket on the screen to you. As the rain comes down in Adelaide, what we have now been able to secure is indeed the pictures coming in from New Zealand. And it's New Zealand against England. England, in fact, is at the crease. 25 overs have been bowled so far. England at the crease, and they're 102 for 2 at this moment. Let's join the TVNZ commentary team, and we'll keep you up to date while we're there watching this match. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on in Adelaide. Let's sit back and enjoy the cricket.